So here we got the machine gun built from last time, and we're just going to show how you install it into the fuselage. So it's going to fit right in that slot. It took a little bit of playing around to open the slots up to make it work, but once I did, it looks pretty good. Put a nice dab of my tacky glue up there. It's okay if it's a little bit much, it'll dry clear again, and that way this piece will grab in there. Go ahead and pop it in, and the biggest thing is to make sure it's even with the other one. Make sure it's not turned sideways. Check and make sure that it all is basically square. That's sort of a broken record on this, but making sure things are square and nice is important. That's a tiny piece of stretched sprue that's going to be the barrel. It was a rolled piece in the kit of paper, but I could not make it work, so I gave up. Took the easy way out, and I'm just putting a little piece of stretched pulled sprue on the end of each of these guns with some super glue, letting it dry, and then you just touch it up with some black paint and she's done. Now, I don't know how scale these are, but these are supposed to be the ammo chutes on either side, and what you need to do with these is crimp them or crease them and bend them over and glue them so that they're you got that gray color on both sides. A little bit of the tacky glue in there works good, and you just squeeze them together and you've got your little flat piece, and then that gets curved using your favorite thin wire and mouse pad, or you can use the back of your hand. I use the fleshy part of my fat little hand all the time to do this. But in this case, you can see I'm putting a lot of pressure on that and that rolls it. And you got this little C shape. Put a little glue on either side, top and bottom, where it's going to go. And then you just slide it in where it's supposed to go. Again, I don't think it's actually how it was in the real airplane. I think they're actually curved and twisted on one side, but since this is just supposed to be kind of simple, that's okay. It still looks nice when it's done. It gives the impression. So I had to cut and fit the one on the inside, and then they're both done. And a lot of this, again, is putting things on, and then the glue lets you take your time. Fast enough, but you can take your time and adjust things. And just a little dab of black paint on either end, and that finishes the Maxims. Now, last part on the cockpit, I got to make seat belts, I guess, but there's a little instrument panel that I waited to put into the very end here. Put some super glue on top, and it's got a big instrument in the front of the real airplane. There's a very, very big instrument right there. And just slid that in using the X-Acto blade stuck into the wood, and you let it go as best you can, and there it is. And you just make sure it looks right, which it does. Make sure, again, it's straight, and that looks good. It really sets off the cockpit a little bit, I think. Now, this is the spinner, and I didn't show doing all of it. The spinner is one of these classic pedal designs. So you put it together, and then in the top where I'm pointing, you cut out slots. And it looks like I said a petal of a flower. And what I did was I put them together, and I used different sizes of these little dabber things, and I rolled them around to the point where dang if the petals don't come together really nice, which they did. Super nice. You can still see them, but we're going to find out later in the end. I looked at some more pictures of a real airplane, and there's actually a cover on top of those. But here I put a little glue, dab of glue in there, and now you've got a nice solid spinner. Now, there's a plate that goes onto, and then that plate the spinner fits onto has to be sanded a little bit of an angle so the spinner will fit nice. I'm just showing an angle with the tweezers, showing you got to go around with an emery board and just sort of angle that in a little bit, and then you'll see that the spinner then, with a little bit of practice, plops right on there. In fact, it goes together so well that I couldn't get it off, and I had to use an X-Acto blade to pick it off there a second. You can see those little white pieces on the spinner. That's where the propeller blades are going to go. Now, just to make sure it's hidden, colored the edge with my black Sharpie. I must say it's nice having a black airplane because you don't have to guess the color. Guess at the color. The black Sharpie works great. On the base plate, there's a little piece that makes it extend beyond the firewall, so it looks like it's attached to an actual motor. So that's that piece. I thinned it a little bit. It was too thick the way it was. So I thinned it out. So now when I put that up against the nose, it doesn't look so silly. And then put a little glue on the inside of that spinner. Drop your base plate on there and push it in. And there you've got a spinner. Make sure it's even. Make sure it's straight. And again, that's the way it's going to fit. And I have to say, once I figure out how to get the prop blades on there, that's going to look pretty mean. And again, I'll show you putting on a little round tip later to finish it off.